Whenever I think of the Katamari games, it's always a PlayStation game. Those inline sticks of the PS2 controller are just perfect for its unique control scheme. However, there are a few instances where Katamari ventured away from Sony's flagship consoles. Today we're going to delve into one of the more obscure titles in the series, released exclusively for the Xbox 360, Beautiful Katamari. This is actually the third home console Katamari game and was originally planned for development on the PlayStation 3 and Wii in addition to the Xbox 360. Despite the unique release, this game suffers from being very generic compared to its predecessor, We Love Katamari, and a perplexing downloadable content structure is what cripples this game. However, there is still a lot of positive to be said about this forgotten entry. For starters, the game does not hold back on the Katamari charm. The premise of the story is hilarious. The king literally creates a black hole because he hits a tennis ball too hard, and so we have to go plug it up. That's it. That's the whole story. Now, I know that I always say how much I enjoy just playing games and not getting too many cutscenes and bogged down in story and text and talking. However, this game is insanely shallow in that there is nothing between levels. There are no other developments other than just plugging up the black hole created by the king's outrageous tennis swing. It's perplexing because even the very first Katamari had little cutscenes with this blockheaded family and created a little bit of a story. At the end of the day, it doesn't have a huge impact on the quality of the game. I mean, who plays Katamari for the story? But I do think it feels like something is missing here. Another point in the positive category is how outrageously good this game looks in HD. You could even say it looks beautiful. However, perhaps the most inexcusable aspect of this game is the shocking amount of performance issues I had with it. This is the freaking Xbox 360, man, not the PS2. Why is there so much slowdown in this game? It's just Katamari, bro. Make it work. Talk about a game, too, where slowdown is brutally hindering. It feels awful to play this game, and then suddenly you start feeling like you're just wading that thing through the mud. Outside of the core missions, like most games in the series, we do have a little hub world where we get to select our missions. This one is decent, though I am partial to We Love Katamari's in preference. Here, it is essential that you figure out that holding X is how you sprint. Otherwise, the prince moves outrageously slow, and it's pretty much unplayable without the sprint. At least you can still do the little musical skipping like in We Love. These little details are important to the overall Katamari experience, trust me. I will always remember that in Katamari Damacy there are often times where you will have a ton of free time after clearing a level. As the series progressed, it seems like things got a lot tighter, and Beautiful Katamari is no exception to this trend. Some of the stages I cleared with just a few seconds left, and there's both good and bad to this. The good is that the game isn't a complete breeze the whole way through. However, the bad is in the nature of wanting to keep the ball rolling and see how big you can get it. You don't get that giddy sense of seeing just how far you can take things. Nope, the levels just end on you pretty quick here. It's not necessarily inherently good or bad, and the nice thing is that when we get to the final missions of the game, you do get a lot of time to truly make the thing giant. So maybe in the earlier levels it is just a good time to call it off, but I don't know, I could go either way here. However, one thing that I kept running into was that the king always trash-talked the hell out of me at the end of each stage. I have played these games for quite a few years, but maybe I am just bad at them. I'm not sure though, because it seems like no matter how much I exceeded the target size by, I'm still getting this sound at the end of each level. Yeah, maybe if I had some extra time at the end of the mission that would be cool then. The one time I was finally able to impress the king was in the Venus mission, but it's so few and far between that he is actually happy with me. I don't know if it's just meant as a joke because he's never satisfied with us, or if I'm actually doing something wrong here. Either way, just getting big doesn't seem to be the solution to any of the king's happiness. Each level has an extra objective just kind of baked into it. It's not like the earlier games where the Katamari is solely judged on how much of a certain item you got in the side missions. Instead, it's like a combination of getting big and getting a lot of one item. Ultimately, I think it's weird to have both points of focus. I would still have the item of focus as my primary thing in the Katamari, but would still get trash-talked by the king, so I don't really know what I'm doing wrong. Despite the extra areas of focus, at the end of the day, you pretty much are just getting big for every level. Not much else to it. When you have to collect rings for Saturn, yeah, sure, there's a bit of an adjustment to your focus, but just roll shit up, man. You'll get plenty of rings even with your brain off. It's just an odd combination that wasn't really necessary and makes the game feel a little clunky. Some levels are also direct rip-offs from We Love Katamari. The Mars stage is just you keeping the Katamari hot, just like the campfire level in We Love. You have to pick up a bunch of hot foods and drinks and avoid cold ones. It's one of the only levels where you aren't just focused on getting big, but it still wasn't original in the grand scheme of the series. Another issue I have is that the spacing in this game just feels weird. Early areas will be very tight and claustrophobic, but then suddenly the next area will immediately require you to be constantly dashing. The problem is then that if you aren't big enough, your dash does get interrupted by larger objects. This game sometimes feels like it missed the mark with the scaling of items and areas compared to the previous games. I wonder if it has to do with the original creator, Kaita Takahashi, not being involved. Others tried to emulate his genius here, but it ended up coming up short. Instead of starting each level in the same spot, here you'll get put on one of a few different set spawn locations. I guess it adds some replay value to the stages, but ultimately I found it more annoying than beneficial. You can get put into some starting areas that are kind of rough because they have items that are way bigger than the others, thus making some of the starting areas really hard to get going because the objects are simply too big. Back to our main objective here though, the premise of the game is to create a bunch of planets and comets and then roll them all up to plug up the black hole. That's why I've been talking about like the Mars and Venus missions, because you're making those planets. It's simple and makes sense for the Katamari games. However, as you get big, like really big, like Endgame, this world feels much more like Damasi's than We Love's. I feel like the endgame of We Love Katamari was much more creative and robust than Beautiful Katamari's. This whole thing feels like a step back on quality and the diversity of the landscapes that you travel. There's just so much more here to be desired. Once you finish the game, you get the bonus level of Uranus. I'm not saying it again. Anyway, the whole point here is that you are rolling up the king himself and getting his memories back. Here's the problem though. He's so goddamn annoying. All he does is talk the entire time. There's no time limit, so I find myself stopping and mashing A just to get through his statements, but it doesn't matter. You will roll for 22 seconds and then he's back at it again with some more talking. The dude never shuts his mouth. However, once you get enough memories, he does put a sock in it finally. Then you can just focus on getting as big as absolutely possible. With all the levels completed, I thought I could hit that 1.5 million kilometer mark and get the achievement, but it seems like I was still coming up short. I think a big part of that is my planets being undersized, and that's why the king is constantly bashing me at the end of each stage. If I figured out how to get better scores, then maybe I would be able to get the achievement. I want to pause here and make it clear that even though I'm bashing the hell out of this game, I do still like it. This is still a Katamari game. It's one of my favorite game series of all time. I just think that this is an incredibly weak entry in this series. And look, if this is your favorite Katamari game, you grew up with it and you really love it, don't take it personally. This is just my first time playing the game, and I'm just here to share some of my experiences with it and what really surprised me about this one a lot. So again, just don't take it too seriously. Parts of this game that I'm really not able to shine light on anymore are the online features. This was an early Xbox 360 game, and of course the first Katamari game on an Xbox console. So there's a big push for online features and leaderboards. That may have felt neat and innovative back then, and I'm sure it was kind of cool if you played this game when it was new, but now it's forgotten and is not really all that cool anyway. I don't care that Katamari has leaderboards. You may have cared back in 2007, but that's not why I play the game, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. There were some other online features too, but I can't really showcase them. I'm not paying for stupid Game Pass, and I doubt any of this games online is particularly functional anyway. This really sucks though if you're trying to get all the achievements for this game, because a lot of them heavily rely on the internet play. I really wonder what the online player counts for Beautiful Katamari are in 2026. I'll bet it's this many. Speaking of online features, are you ready for some real bullshit? At first I thought this game was incredibly short. I finished all the main story missions in one afternoon. However, I realized that there weren't really any side missions this whole time. You know how in the first game you make the constellations by rolling up certain types of objects? Like how making cancer is by rolling up crabs? Well, yeah, none of that was here. I thought this game was really lazy for not having any missions like that. However, when I started reading up on the Wikipedia page for the game, I realized I was mistaken, but in the worst way possible. The side stages were all released as DLC, and you have to buy them all individually. This was incredibly upsetting to see, but it did shine light on why the base game is so lackluster. So you know what I did? I bought all of it. But I only did that for one reason. Because I like you a lot. Now don't take that too serious. Normally I would do everything in my power to not support DLC like this, but I really wanted to show off the rest of the game in this video because I feel like it would be incomplete otherwise. Also, I mean look, I like the game, so if I want to spend money on DLC, that's my own damn prerogative. Keep in mind, I am playing this on an actual Xbox 360. I'm not on an Xbox One or newer with backwards compatibility, so obtaining any DLC is rather difficult for me here. There is a way to kind of backdoor it since the store on the Xbox 360 no longer works. I bought the DLC on my computer, and then you have to go into your download history on the Xbox 360 and re-download all the content. You just have to be logged in on the right account on both. It was a huge pain, and the Xbox 360 barely works anymore when it comes to the internet, or it was just always this bad and we just accepted it that way 20 years ago. Regardless, after more time than I'd like to share, I finally got all the DLC for this game. Thankfully, the extra stages are only $1 each, but that's even a bit steep given their quality. A lot of them are incredibly short, with timers of only 3 or 4 minutes sometimes. Also, they are highly lacking in originality still. Remember the mission in the first game where you had to make a Katamari of an exact size? Well, how would you like that again? But it's just 3 different sizes this time.
What could be worse than a giant paint bubble?
Oh, I know. 2 giant paint bubbles.
That'll be $1, please. Others are just a bit strange, like the Constellations mission. The game overall just feels really creatively bankrupt. I'd like to blame all the issues that they had trying to get this game ported over to multiple consoles, and them all being next generation. All the technical troubles probably really stifled the creativity of this release. My issues of getting crappy scores in the King's Mind still persist in the DLC levels too. I just don't get it. I just don't see what I'm doing wrong. I bought all the DLC because I refused to give up on this game, and I really wanted to give it a chance for me to like it, but it's just so inferior, even with the full game purchased. Lastly, I didn't really have a place to put in this video, but I want to quickly mention the soundtrack. It's solid overall, but it's not much because it doesn't have bangers like Wanda Wanda from the first game. The traditions are kept alive and the spirit of Katamari is certainly here, but it just doesn't do it for me like the first 2 games' soundtracks. And that could be said for pretty much every element of this game. Honestly though, this whole thing does just feel like a bonus level. Everything about playing Katamari on an Xbox just feels illegal. I feel like I've discovered some alternate timeline where this ended up as an Xbox exclusive and not a PlayStation game. So despite some pretty obvious design flaws compared to the predecessor, this game still gets a pass because it feels like a little something extra on the side. I don't think anybody is calling Beautiful Katamari their main or preferred entry in the series these days, so it's just a neat little footnote to explore when you've already delved into a lot of the series. I hope you enjoyed my ranting about this game. If you did, leave a like on the video and use YouTube's new hype feature to boost this in the algorithm. So with that, thanks for watching.